We're going to dig into the gradebook now. On this course, we have a number of different items. We have some quizzes, we have some forums. Those don't actually show up in the gradebook, but we do have some assignments here. So any of these items that we have created that are interactive, so that you are asking the students to interact with them. So an assignment or a quiz, for instance, it allows you to create something so that the students would be able to upload an assignment, and then it will automatically show up as a gradebook item. That doesn't mean that you can't add other elements that are outside of the Moodle program. So for instance, if you have them turn in a paper, an actual printed paper, or a lab report, something that's handwritten or anything like that that can't be, that isn't digitally submitted, I'll show you how to do that too. But some of these items we're going to see within the gradebook, and that is why. So on Moodle, in the upper left-hand corner here is grades, and that's going to drop us first to the grader report, which gives us an overview of all of our students. And again, like I said, it'll show here any of the different items that we already have grades for, or items for in the gradebook. So if I click on midterm, it's going to take me to the midterm test. And since we don't have really anyone other than, we have one example here that someone did at least open the test, they never finished taking it. But in that case, that would show what the test scores were. Same way with assignments, it would show if anyone has uploaded them. In this case, participants, we have 3, submitted 0, so no one is submitting anything. So we could look at all the submissions, but at this point, this one is just all empty. So the grader report is just an overview of all of your students, what the quick grades are, and then you can see the quick course totals as well as an overall average for the entire course. So you can see how the students collectively are averaging. So if you are using the gradebook to have all of your grade items, no matter if they're uploaded through Moodle or not, then you can get a quick overview of what your entire course grade average is. We can click up here and we can change our views, as well as if you wanted to, you could also, if you've used groups, you could look at different groups within the course itself. So if you had subgroups, you could look at just those groups, and then again, it would just give you an overall average for particular groups. So in view, right now what we're going to go to and focus on is Gradebook Setup. So our gradebook setup, this one in particular is already set up, has a couple items in it. I'll show you what it looks like then on a gradebook that's completely empty, but sometimes it helps to sort of see how it will be organized in the long run. Before you are actually creating all of your items on the front page, for instance, the assignments and the quizzes and things like that, if you are planning on using the gradebook, it does help to even just organize it in just a framework even before you have any items in here. So in this case, you can see that this area is overarching, so it's sort of the collective information. So if I click edit on that area, that's going to adjust some overarching settings. And the main one here is our aggregation. So again, just a reminder, these little question marks are all over Moodle. So when you're unsure of what exactly you're trying to set up, and Gradebook can be kind of confusing, so that's why academic technology is here for you as well. So we have a number of different options, and most often folks are using weighted mean of grades, which allows you to create categories and create different weights associated with those different categories. So I can say that quizzes are worth 10%, tests are worth 40%, and so on and so forth. So often we do a weighted mean of grades, so you can use them within different categories. Most of the other elements here, we do have the standard setting, so value tends to be there. You can use a scale, but we always want to make sure that we do some testing on any of these different adjustments just to ensure that it's not affecting the grade inaccurately. So you want to we always of course want to make sure that it's giving the proper grade to the students. It's also very important not to keep this as hidden. We can just close the gradebook completely to view, but hiding certain elements can have an effect on the rest of the gradebook. So we're going to hit Save Changes on that. Okay, so now you can see here we have this weights category, and again, question marks there, so can give you a bit more information. But what we have here is I've already created a couple categories, and I'm going to show you where I created those from. So right now I have a category called quizzes, so you can see it's a little folder here. I have a category called papers, and I have a category called tests. And then within these, I can do a couple things. So I could have the quizzes, I could adjust that as well, the settings on that, and I could have it so it is a weighted mean of grades as well, meaning that each quiz might be worth more than others, as in how much weight it actually carries. Otherwise, especially in areas such as maybe journal entries or any sort of repeated assignment that's all even, we can just keep the simple weighted mean of grades. So for this one, we're just going to say we're going to keep that as simple. And that, so you can see that there's 2 items within here, but we're not weighing them. So just collectively, everything that's within this quizzes is going to be worth 30% of the grade. Under papers, though, we did have this one set up as weighted mean of grade. So the first assignment is 30%, the second one is 30%, and the fourth one, or the third one is 40%. So that is going to all work together to then have just 10% of the overall grade. So that is how you can have the adjustments on the different weights within a different category. Same thing goes for tests here. So I have 4 different items. Down here at the bottom, we have 2 different items. We have add category and add item. So if we were going to add another category, we could write in journals. And again, I could choose simple weighted mean of grades, or otherwise. I could also subcategorize them. We tend not to do that. I'm going to cancel that because I don't want a new category quite yet. And then you can also add grade items. So you can see here under tests, we have, you can see from these icons that these are tests, quizzes that we have put on the front page. And then we have our 4th item, and this is just added as a grade item. So what this means is that this is likely some sort of paper or test or something that they are handing to you physically. So it's not a digital submission, but you can add those in and then you can still grade them. So I could do add grade item, and I could say assignment 4. I can also put it under a particular category. So it could go over in the overarching grade, or it can go into different sections. So for this, I'm going to say that it's going to go under papers, and I'm going to say save changes. So at this point, now this skews my grading. So I could split this, I could say that one's worth 20%, that one's worth 20%, just to ensure that it all evens out to 100. And here we are. So now I can grade those as well. You can also, you always have to hit save changes on this. It will prompt you and tell you that you're about to leave the page and you haven't made your adjustments. So if I go back up to grade a report, I can see now I still have these under quizzes, but under papers, I do again have this new item, and then I would also see the collective percentages on the ends here as well. So we can do all of that. You can also look at the user report, and this allows you to see just one student's view at a time. This is very similar to the way a student would view their own grade. So at this point, I could look at just one particular group, or I could look up any of the users that we have here. So if I wanted to look up Michael, I could see all of his grades, I could see the overall percentage, and then I could go in and make any sort of adjustments on any of these. So I could, if I look at view all submissions here, this is the normal way that you would look at a particular assignment, and so you could grade it directly from this page. In this case, you would see file submissions if they had uploaded an actual document here, and you would be able to grade directly, which would then come back to the overarching grading grader report view. So I could come back here to grades, and then we would see those there. So the main views that we look at grader report, we look at user view, gradebook setup. Some of these other items are ones that maybe would be relevant for in certain circumstances, but overall these are the ones that we focus on, but we are always here to walk you through the entire process and to look at your particular syllabus and how you have your course broken up on grading, so that we can ensure that we are setting up the gradebook to reflect that, and we can do some dummy grades just to ensure that everything is looking correct.